Hello, I'm Peter, a product expert here at Upkeep. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to data import meter triggers within Upkeep. So for our agenda today, I'll provide a quick overview and demonstration so that you can get started importing meter triggers. So first, let me give you an overview so you know what this means. Meter triggers, it's the ability to schedule work orders according to your meter readings. So you can measure things like mileage in a vehicle or even number of hours put into a machine. And once you've reached your set measure, a work order can be automatically generated. With meter triggers, you can import them through something called a CSV file, which stands for comma separated value, meaning you can import it through a spreadsheet. And the max limit you can do this is 200. So if you have over 200, say you have to import like 250, you'd have to break that into batches. Okay, so let's get right into it and let me show you a demonstration. So first thing we have to do is go into our meter section. And then just a quick little overview on meters. Meters are just essentially that feature that allows you to track the usage of your assets. So in this scenario right here, I've created a meter called vehicle 1. And then within meters, you can enter things like meter readings. And what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to create a new work order trigger. And you can do this within the app by filling out the details here. But we're going to do this instead through importing through a CSV file. So what I want to do here is I want to set a meter trigger where anytime this vehicle runs, reaches every 5,000 miles, I want to do like a vehicle inspection check as a work order. So let's do that. On the top right-hand corner, let's click on the three dots and click on Import Meter Trigger. Once you do that, then on this page, you want to click on Download Sample Template. And once you do so, then it'll take you to this external page right here where you can start importing and putting your data. All right, so when you first see this, row 1 is going to be the title columns. Row 2 is always the sample data. And then that part is really there just to help you serve as a guideline to how to fill out each column. But when you're actually putting all the data and it's done, you just want to make sure to remove that sample data. So I'm just going to do that now. And then what I'm going to do from here is put in my actual data. Okay, so there's a lot of information, not to worry. I'll go over each column so you know what it means. And then a quick thing before I get started into explaining those columns, I highly recommend if you're doing this for the first time, we have a help guide. It's pretty much here to serve you as just instructions. So if you go through this as well as the video, I promise you that you'll get this in fewer tries. All right, so let's start with column A, meter ID. This is what meter ID means. So back into the Upkeep app, as you saw earlier, in meters, we had that one meter called vehicle 1. The ID of any data, it's going to be at the end of the URL at the search bar. So right here, after this / that says G all the way to F, that's the meter ID. And it's also important to note that when you're importing meter triggers, the meter has to exist within the app. Because if you try to import a meter trigger with something without an existing meter, then there's going to be an error. Okay, so trigger frequency, I've set it as every time it reaches, and then in C, that trigger value is 5,000. So that means every time it reaches 5,000 miles, I want that new work order for this vehicle 1 maintenance checkup. That's what I put there as the title. And then column E is just like column A. You have to go within the app. For this one, you'd go to the people and team section, and it's at the end of the URL. Description, 5,000 mile checkup. Checklist ID, same thing, but this one I'll show you how to do it within the app because it takes a few steps compared to the other ones. So that one, you'd want to click on settings here, the bottom left-hand corner. Then from there, I go to the checklist section and then vehicle maintenance check. So that means whenever I create that, vehicle maintenance triggered work order, I want things like oil change, tire pressure check to be included. And again, it's at the end of the URL found in the search bar. Okay, so really quick, as I just explained column G, it's important to note that columns G through N, these are only available to Business Plus. So if you're on the free, starter, or professional plan, you can only fill up to columns A through F. Okay, so let's just continue on for our Business Plus users. Column H, estimated duration, that's always going to be in hours. It has to be whole numbers, so I put 2 hours as an estimate time. Priority, it can be from low, medium, or high. I put medium. Category is important. Whatever you input here, that category has to be an existing work order category. And what I mean by that is if you go here, right, where it says categories, then it has to be an existing category that lives here. If it's not, just make sure to create one really quick here. Okay. And then additional worker IDs, that means you can add in, maybe an additional technician or other limited technician users. An important thing to note here is if you're going to add those different multiple users, you put in the ID and it's followed by a vertical line, but make sure there are no spaces in between here. All right, and moving on, we have team assigned ID. This is also found in the people and teams section. And then location and asset ID, same thing. These can be found in the corresponding sections. Okay, so all that looks good. I'm gonna save that. Now let's go ahead and import this and see how that looks like. So we click into here again, the 3 dots, we click on import meter trigger, and then we click on upload CSV. And then I'm gonna put in my meter trigger test import sheet. And it looks like it was a success. All right, so let's click into it and see how it looks like now. So I'm going to click on vehicle 1. I'm going to click into this one right here, vehicle 1 maintenance check. So I'm looking at the data. Yep, I want it triggered every time it reaches 5,000. Baseline is obviously going to be 0 because it's the beginning start of this meter trigger. And then once it reaches 5,000, that's good. 2 hours, and everything that I wanted is perfectly inputted the way I want. All right, so that is importing meter triggers. So I hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions or feedback, let us know, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.